Why I've never listened to an audiobook before is completely beyond me. Hello everybody, my name is Debbie. If you haven't been here before, I read a lot of books and I sing and I like the theatre. I'm like Carrie Fletcher but without the successful career. This is a first for me because I've listened to my first audiobook. I have no idea why it took me so long to listen to an audiobook. I once accidentally downloaded an audiobook, I didn't realise it was an audiobook, and I've never listened to it. I think I will now, knowing how well I've done with this one. Today's book is The Fletcher by Beth O'Leary. I read it on BurrowBox, which is taking forever to load up at the moment. I don't know why. It's something to do with Sky. Is Sky being a bitch again? Oh well. I went on a 5-day trip with my family. It was me, my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother-in-law and my niece, and we stayed in a house by the sea in Swanage and it was lovely. The Fletcher. Tiffy and Leon share a bed. Tiffy and Leon have never met. And it's read by Carrie Fletcher and Kwaku Fortune. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his first name right, so apologies for that. As I said, I've never listened to an audiobook before, but because we were on a long journey and we were sat in the car for a long time, I thought this might be the time to listen to a book, because as somebody who gets car sick, admittedly I don't get as car sick since I've been like driving more on the regular. When I was little, before I learned to drive, I got very, very sick on car journeys. To be fair, I can't do car journeys that are very kind of on windy roads. I'm okay on like trains and buses as long as I'm facing forward. If I'm travelling backwards, I can't do it. I've been on sets before where I've been in cars and for a second I've realised I'm like the wrong way around. I'm just like, can somebody please swap with me because I get car sick when I'm travelling backwards? And straight away people are just like, oh yeah, we'll swap. Like, it's never a big deal if I need to swap seats with somebody. Being a person who gets car sick and travel sickness, it means that I can't concentrate on anything while I'm in the car. So I can't read. If I'm on my phone for too long, then that makes me ill. Like, I can have a glance at a magazine, but there comes a point where I'm just like, nope, I'm starting to feel sick now. So I thought an audiobook would be a great way to do it because I don't have to concentrate on anything. It just plays into my ears and I can just look out the window. And yeah. Obviously, I'm not trying to sell audiobooks here. I'm not sponsored in the slightest. I have, 35 subscribers. And as I said, this was done, I downloaded The Fletcher through my library app. Yes, so it's basically about two people who live in a flat together, but they share the bed because of their work things. They're never actually in the flat at the same time. Blurb music. Blurb effect. There we go. Tiffy and Leon share a flat. Tiffy and Leon share a bed. Tiffy and Leon have never met. Tiffy Moore needs a cheap flat and fast. Leon Twomey works nights and needs cash. Their friends think they're crazy, but it's the perfect solution. Leon occupies the one-bed flat while Tiffy's at work in the day, and she has the run of the place the rest of the time. But with obsessive ex-boyfriends, demanding clients at work, wrongly imprisoned brothers, and of course the fact that they still haven't met yet, they're about to discover that if you want the perfect home, you need to throw the rule book out of the window. This was such a good book. I've heard about it quite a lot because I'll admit I watched Carrie Fletcher's videos, so I've been aware of this book for quite a while, and the fact that she was on the audiobook I've known for quite a while. This book was released August 2019. It feels like I've known about it longer than that, but I think 2020 has just been a long year in general. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It says that unabridged, the duration of it at a normal speed is 9 hours and 27 minutes. I listened to the majority of it in one 6-hour car journey, and then I finished it off when I got home that night. So I sped it up quite a little bit. I didn't have it at the normal setting. I put it onto like the next level up for most of the journey. It's because I'm a fast reader anyway, and so I can process things quite quickly. So it just felt a bit slow at a normal speed, so I just sped it up for me. Obviously, you can put it at whatever speed you want. Like if you want it slower, you can slow it down. If you want to speed it up, you can speed it up. Or if you want to just listen to it as read, you can do that. I admit I may have nodded off slightly during the book, but because it was being, because I had it on my Bluetooth headphones that like cover the ears, it's not like the in-ear ones. The words of the book kind of entered my dream, so I was dreaming about it as I was listening to it. It's a weird feeling, but when I did wake up, I didn't feel like I'd missed anything, because it was just like, oh, that was in my head. It's like the idea of nodding off while you're watching a TV show and you can still hear it, and then kind of the plot kind of enters your dreams kind of thing. But yeah, I think I only fell asleep for about 20 minutes in a car. And it was around about the bit where Tiffy goes to look at the flat for the first time. I really, really like the premise of this book. The idea of two people sharing a flat but never meeting each other because one of them works during the day and one of them works at night. Tiffy works for a publishing house, and she's helping to publish a book about like making jumpers and sweaters and scarves and things. But it's that kind of book. It's like how to make your own clothes, basically. And it lent itself to quite a few comical moments in the book. One bit that stands out for me is when she is on a cruise ship with the writer of the book, and the writer of the book is measuring her to make this stuff, and she's there while most people would be mortified at the idea of their measurements being read out in public. Tiffy's just sat there trying to stifle a laugh. She's laughing at the idea of this woman reading out her measurements to just a boat of strangers, and she's just there laughing about it. And then it's quite clever how the mood of that scene gets shifted when she sees her ex on the boat, and she has this brief moment of, is that him? Yes, it is him, and oh my god, we just have sexy eyes. It's a really good book. It's really funny. There were times when I felt like I'd read it before. I say read it because obviously it was being played through my ears, but there were certain elements of the story that I was just like, I think I've read a story like this before, elements of it. Because I will be quite upfront and say there is talks of an emotionally abusive relationship in the book, so if that is a trigger for you, I wouldn't recommend this book, because the emotional abuse storyline is quite hard hitting, especially as Tiffy kind of comes to terms with that relationship and her memories flooding back and realising it's not the completely happy relationship that she remembers it to be. It's interesting seeing that storyline come out, and you're hearing or reading about Tiffy remembering that relationship and how she can look back on it and have a completely different memory of it compared to what she was living at the time. I really liked the character of Leon. I'll admit, originally when I started the book, he seemed quite monotone. I think it was kind of done on purpose, because as throughout the book, because the idea is that Leon, when he tells his workmates and stuff that he's getting a flatmate, they're all just like, oh, you're not the kind of have a flatmate, you know, we can't imagine you having friends and stuff and all this sort of stuff. And when his co-workers finally meet him, and they're just like, oh, she does exist. Because throughout the book, there's always a little question mark with Leon's co-workers saying like, oh, he's making it up. He's lying about having a flatmate to make himself seem interesting or something, because in the beginning of the book he seems quite disinterested and that story starts off quite monotone. At first I wasn't really warming up to the character, but I do think that's the point looking back on it, because throughout the story you kind of warm up to him. He starts to get a bit more expressive. You learn more about his relationship with his girlfriend and his brother and his family, and how that affects his life. I don't actually know Kwaku Fortune, like I don't know who he is or what he looks like. Here, pussycat. Harry! I had this image in my head of what the character of Leon looked like based on the description. Meanwhile, because I know what Carrie Hope Fletcher looks like, she was what I imagined in my head through the reading of it as Tiffy. The only real difference between Carrie Hope Fletcher and the character of Tiffy is the height. Everything else seemed to fit perfectly, because I think Carrie Hope Fletcher is about the same height as me, like 5'5", 5'6". And the character of Tiffy is supposed to be like 6 foot tall. That's the only real difference in the description of Tiffy compared to the actress that's reading for her. Everything else seemed to fit Carrie Hope Fletcher to a T when it was describing like her fashion sense and her hair and things. It was just like, I can totally imagine Carrie Hope Fletcher in this character. So it was brilliant. The way it has been read by two actors is really, really clever, because you hear mainly about audiobooks being read by just one person all the way through. Because this is done in chapters from the point of view of both Tiffy and Leon, Carrie Fletcher does the voices of the Tiffy chapters, and Kwaku Fortune does the voices of the Leon chapters. And it's really funny hearing them because, obviously, because you're just hearing that one voice throughout the chapters, so you hear, like, Tiffy pretending to be Leon, and then Leon pretending to be Tiffy in their respective chapters, and hearing Kwaku Fortune pretending to be Tiffy in the Leon chapters is really funny, because Tiffy is described as being an Essex girl. Carrie Fletcher doesn't really have an Essex accent, really. She's more just kind of she's more of a posher London. I say posh. She's not that posh, really. But when you think about it, it is a posher London accent than Essex. So when Kwaku Fortune as Leon is pretending to be Tiffy, the Essex accent is very different to the accent that you're hearing when you hear Carrie as Tiffy. Does that make sense at all? I really, really loved the voice used for Leon's mum in the Leon chapters, because you can just hear it, and the slight differences with the voice between Leon and his brother. It's just really, really cool to listen to, and the fact that it was able to like play like as a movie or a series in my head while I was listening to it without making me feel sick was incredible. So yeah, to anybody who does get car sick, I do recommend an audiobook. It was lovely to be able to listen to a story and, you know, not feel sick. But yeah, as you can tell, I really enjoyed this book. The listening element made it so much easier, and like reading a book, my imagination was just still going. Harry! Boy! Are you coming in? You gonna come sit? You've met Harry before. Just sit. Just sit. But yes, I really enjoyed this book. It's definitely rom-com-y. Because there was a point in the book when I was just thinking, is this a rom-com? Because I wasn't sure based on certain parts of the book, but to be honest, it's called The Fletcher. It says they've never met, and obviously there comes a point in the book where they do meet, and the bit where they meet, I did laugh out loud while I was listening to it and imagining it. But it was kind of a thing of, this was the only way they could have met, based on the fact that they're not supposed to be in the flat at the same time. I'll just say that. They're not supposed to be in the flat at the same time, but they do end up meeting, and it's in the flat. But yeah, so that bit really, really made me laugh. In certain bits towards the end, as we were looking at the relationship between Tiff and her ex, I admit, because it's in that kind of emotionally abusive storyline that's going on, I was able to think of other books that have used that kind of storyline before, and that's kind of where my brain was going with it. I was there looking at that storyline thinking, I've read this kind of relationship before, and it was actually in the book Fiddleback by Mark Morris that storyline comes in quite a lot. The idea of a abusive ex following you, which obviously in Fiddleback it takes a very different turn to the way this book takes it. The chapter where the confrontation happened, I was just like, yes, yes, because she finally gave to let it all out, and obviously in real life you have no idea where it would have actually gone, and to be fair, in the book it shows you that that's not where it ends. It doesn't end with you confronting that. There's so much stuff that can happen after that, and in the book it does. I'm not going to spoil it too much in regards to that storyline, because obviously the main thing is obviously you've got two people who have never met sharing a flat, and then through that you learn about what their stories are. So in the case of Tiffany, it's her relationship with her ex and how she confronts the abuse that she went through that she didn't realise was happening at the time. With Leon, you're looking at his relationship with his brother and his mother, and the fact that his brother is in jail for a crime that he might not have committed. And the way these storylines kind of cross over is the fact that Tiffany knows somebody who is a criminal lawyer. So that's how those storylines kind of intertwine. So it's basically like the 3 storylines that you've got. This would work really, really well as probably a movie. A mini-series maybe, not like a full-length series, but a mini-series maybe. Like traditionally English mini-series that spread over like 4 episodes maybe. There might be enough information for something like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a rom-com. You've got the abuse storyline, so as I said before, you know, if that is a touchy subject for you, you might not want to read this book. The voices of Carrie, Fletcher and Kwaku fortune telling story was spot on. Because it says that Kwaku Fortune is an American actor, and the point of Leon is the fact that he is Irish and a Londoner, so you've got that kind of combination of a bit of a Cockney accent with the Irish accent, and Kwaku Fortune does an amazing job at that accent. I don't really know what his natural accent is, but that London Irish accent was like spot on, and I think he's absolutely brilliant for that. But yeah, The Fletcher by Beth O'Leary. Great book, a funny book, but as I was listening, there were certain points when I wanted to laugh, I wanted to cry, I wanted to punch people, I wanted to hug people. In certain chapters of Tiffy, I wanted to hug Tiffy. I really wanted to hug her and just say, everything's going to be okay. To be fair, I kind of felt the same about Leon. There was one chapter in particular for Leon, I wanted to hug him and go, everything's going to be alright, you'll see, you'll see. There's no kind of real big twist. I think a lot of it is just a natural progression of the story, so if you like really twisty, turny ones, it probably isn't the book for you. If you like a book where you can, it's like watching like a Channel 5 film. You can watch it, enjoy it, but know what's happening, and you can pop to the toilet and come back while the film's going on and not really miss much. That's how I describe this book, like a Channel 5 feature film. Easy to listen to, easy to read, easy to follow. So that has been The Fletcher by Beth O'Leary. Yeah, I'm still currently reading Lenny Henry's biography. I've been stopping and starting with that one just because of other stuff that's been happening. Because I'm back at work, you know, I've had training to go back to the theatre, I've been at my normal day job for a few weeks now. So yeah, life is getting back in the way of things. But I will finish that. Maybe that'll be the next one. Hopefully, Lenny Henry will be the next book. Let's try and do that. So thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Debbie. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. There'll be a little thing just here. I'll see you next week for another video. Mwah.